Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, I hope that you're doing really well in this very moment. No matter what part of the space-time continuum you find yourself on, I hope that you're able to witness and recognize the roles in which time has been speeding up or slowing down in your life. In what ways has time been a bit of an anomaly lately for you? I want you to pay attention to it because I've noticed it so much. So much. I was talking to my friend yesterday, my near twin flame, actually, and he told me that he looked at the clock when he called me at 9:15. And we had been talking for about, 30 minutes maybe. Looked at the clock again, it was 9:15. And I looked at the clock and I'm like, yeah, it's 9:15. He's like, well, I know I called you at 9:15. That's what the clock said. It was so strange. So strange. I've had a lot of anomalies with time lately. We're becoming less time related. It seems like time is becoming timeless in some cases. Have you had days recently that just whooshed on by, even if you're not having fun? Have you had days that just seemed like they're never gonna frickin' end? Like, have you even caught yourself in the past month saying, oh my God, when is this day going to end? It is like the longest day. I have had days like both of these. I have gone to shop and it just seemed like I was there for like 4 hours or something. And I knew there's 2 hours before the place closed and it just felt like I was there for 4 hours. It just dragged on. It was so weird. So weird. I've had a lot of time anomalies, and even when I record this, I know that it takes me 4 seconds to say, welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks, right? And yet sometimes when I go to record it, it takes 7 seconds. I mean, and have had the thing literally skip ahead and take like 14 seconds, and I go back to play it. It's just like weird. It's like jumbled up. Sounds like I stopped and started the thing. But I've had a lot. I've woken up and thought, oh my God, it must be so late in the afternoon. I feel like I slept forever and wake up. It's like 8 in the morning. It's like, what? So time has been really different. Hasn't had the same kind of passage experience, I guess. It hasn't felt the same. Hasn't felt the same for me anyway. And I know a few of you have mentioned it to me. Like, wow, time just, and I don't know if you remember a few months ago when I was watching TV and I knew exactly how many minutes had gone by because I was watching it on Netflix, and I knew what it said when I had paused it, and I knew what it said when I paused it again. It'd only been 2 minutes, and I know my popcorn doesn't take 2 minutes to completely burn itself completely to the bottom of the pan like I'd left it in there for 20 minutes, but that's what happened. And I'm like, how is time passing in one area faster and another area slower? How is that possible? Is it the magnetosphere? Is it the Schumann Resonance? Are those two connected or related? I don't know. I haven't done any of the experiments lately with time as far as using energy to increase and speed up molecules in my coffee and increase the time, or take the time back to the time in which the coffee was hotter. But I did do that before. I did some experiments with that, and I learned that if you go into a spiral backwards, you could go back in time. You speed the spiral forwards clockwise, then you can go forward in time. Maybe you can make your hot coffee cold by moving your coffee itself in time. Literally moving the coffee in an upward spiral. I've tried this stuff. I've gone in a downward spiral, with my coffee, and I made it warmer. It was real, but I put energy into it and intention. Very weird. I don't know. I've tried a couple experiments because I feel like it's going to be easier for us to play around with time. And I know it's going to be easier for us to play around with magic. I feel like that the times in which Merlin lived, and in the times where all of the stories about magic existed, I feel like we hadn't quite hit rock bottom yet as far as the third dimension was concerned. And then we're going back up. And this is what Jude, actually, he mentioned this to me. It was his idea. Jude Teacoff of the Starseed Perspective. Podcast. I feel like this is what's happening now. Like after that magical phase where there were dragons and we were seeing stuff in the astral, basically. But also dragons are real. They're really real. They're in the fifth dimension. And we're going to see them again soon. I saw a dragon in Peru. Maybe that day I had significantly raised my vibration. I don't know. Maybe the dragon just allowed itself. It dropped down into 3D for a moment. Allowed me to see it. It was an absolutely gorgeous golden dragon. Like the color of a golden eagle, but it was enormous, the shadow of which covered my whole house that I lived in. We were living in a huge 3-story Mediterranean-style house in Peru, in Lima. And I saw its tail, and it had the traditional heart-shaped tail and enormous wings. It looked like bat wings, and they're slightly see-through. And the sun could come through. They were like leathery wings, like a bat's wings, but very thin in some places. And I saw the scales on him, and it almost looked like feathers, but you could tell they were scales. And he was beautiful, like glorious, and I was like, whoa. And I remember thinking that day, oh my God, are dragons, are they real? In a way that they're going to be animals? And are they predators to humans for real? Looking back to all of the stories of the dragons, seems to me that the greater majority of them talked about how the humans feared for their lives and they had to go slay the dragon so that the humans would be safe. I remember a past life in which I was meant to be a virgin thrown to the dragon. They were going to take me and chain me out on a specific bridge or something, and they were expecting me to arrive in the morning so that I could get gussied up for the dragon, I suppose, and whatever dress, and probably going to slather me in pig's blood or whatever it takes to make the dragon smell the food, And I was scared. I was, oh, hell no. I'm not going to be fed to a dragon. Like, what are you guys talking about? And I remember in that life, everyone believed in dragons. Everything was normal. It was just like an animal. but it had magical, mystical qualities to it. Somehow they figured if we give one of our virgins away to the dragon, then the dragon will go away happy for another year. And it was like a festival in our little village. I don't remember where it was at, but it was on this planet. And I had a boyfriend at the time, and he was saying goodbye to me because we were never going to see each other again after I was killed by the dragon. So I said, I think I have a solution to this, and we decided to fornicate under said bridge, and therefore not a virgin. Oh, that was fun. I forgot to turn off my new notification sound. That was so crazy. But anyway, so after having been consummated our relationship under the bridge, well, they couldn't feed me to the dragon very well, could they? Not a virgin anymore. Ooh, I got in a lot of trouble with my mom, but then she realized, oh, but I get to see you tomorrow, so all right, all is forgiven. You made an embarrassing shambles of our reputation and whatever, but hey. I don't know what happened that year after that. I don't remember. I don't know if the dragon went through the village and burned everything with its breath, or they found another virgin to give to the dragon. I don't remember. But I do remember that that was like a very real memory, like a past life memory. And I saw an actual dragon in this life. So I think, we are going back up into that dimension where we're going to be able to see dragons. I do believe in dragons. I do. They are in my room, mostly. They're usually following me. I have dragons all over me. Not over me, like on me, but I wouldn't be able to breathe. They're pretty big. But I have them surrounding me all the time. I've had dragons around me for years. And I love them, but I can't see them unless I meditate, and then in my third eye, in astral sight, I can see them. But I did some research, and I looked at the times in which dragons were mentioned in literature. And it seems to be about every 200 years. And this is the time in which, this is like, it's been 200 years since they were mentioned in literature. And I feel like, what if dragons are like, I think it's the mayflies that only come out every couple years. And when they do, there's mayflies everywhere in the South in the United States. And then you don't see them for another like 5 years or something. Well, what if dragons are like that, but it takes 200 years to gestate an egg? And in my yard in Magalia, we had found eggs. Well, they're rocks, but they looked like eggs. And my oldest kid said, look, this one's an ice dragon, and put it in a plastic bag and put it in the freezer. Said it's not cold enough. But this one's a fire dragon. They're twins, but they're opposites. They have opposite energies. And my kid's like 2 years old or 3 years old. I was like, maybe 4, maybe, I think she was actually about 4. Puts the other one in the oven, says we need to turn on low heat. These dragons aren't being properly taken care of. And that's why they haven't been able to hatch yet. And we went along with that for a while, and then my husband's like, we need to stop the madness. This is just crazy. Why does she believe in this? I'm like, probably because it's true. I believe in it. But, he somehow convinced me that it was all big sham and it's a lie. And I told my friend Cheryl, who works at dragons all the time, and she says, oh yeah, she gets dragon eggs dropped off and they look like rocks. But she has witnessed them hatching. But see, she sometimes lives in the 9th dimension. We'll go for months without talking, I think, because she's up in another dimension. And then she'll write me on Facebook, and then we're back in touch again. So I know the real animals they're also, but they're mythical creatures, and they're interdimensional. Sometimes you can see them in 3D, sometimes 5D, sometimes 7, 8, 9, higher. Definitely fourth dimensional. But I think they're fifth dimensional creatures, like a lot of the ETs that show up. Like the Lyrans who came in my room a few weeks back and made this loud sound like a cat stumbling over something in my room. And I was the only one in here, and I was sitting across the room from it. It was very audible on the audio. You could for sure hear it. Anyway, we're due for the dragons to start hatching around the world, and I've seen some wonderful CGI videos of dragons on, YouTube, but I wonder if... I just heard something in my room just now. As soon as I said that, I got a chill. Hey, dragons, are you here? Yeah, they say. Yeah, they're here. They're here. But I think it's time for, if the physical dragons are physical and the mystical dragons are mystical, maybe there's two different kinds. I don't know. There's mystical humans that live in the other dimensions, and then there's humans that live in front of us. We could see them. I want to put it out there. I wanted you guys to let me know if you see a dragon, if you've ever seen a dragon or not. I think they're real, but I think they keep themselves well hidden, and I think for good reason. The whole dragon slaying thing, which I don't like. If we learn to work with them, I think it's real. I think they're real. Now I'm looking. What is that? Was it a bug? Yeah, I don't think it was a bug. I don't know if you guys heard it. It was like a little... I have a glass here. There's nothing touching it. And yet it looks like something like... Was it kind of like that? That was me. But I think something pinged my glass to confirm the dragons are definitely real. Actually, I'm not touching my glass. If you did that, one of my dragons, do it again, because I want to know. Make the noise on the glass again, please. I want to know if dragons are real in a way that we're going to physically see them. And we know that you're real, but you're still in another dimension. You're phased out from us. We can't see you. I can't see you. My friend can see them, like, no big deal. It's like, totally, that's her gift. Anyway, there is proof of dragons. I'm going to get into that. I don't know. Not tonight, but I'm going to get into it. But it's going to be like kind of a two-part thing, and I'm going to see if I can't get this guy to talk about it on the show, about the dragons. He's the mud fossil guy, and I want to talk about that too, the mud fossils. It's always fascinated me, but anyway, there's that. Today and yesterday, especially yesterday, the sky was legit lavender. Like, absolutely lavender. Not blue, not purple, just absolutely legit lavender. Just completely blew my mind. I've been here 2 years. This month, it'll be 2 years. Never saw the sky that color. And today it was periwinkle blue and lavender. Yesterday it was lavender after all the clouds were dark cobalt blue. I mean, it took me a while to see it, though. Sometimes you don't believe it. Because blue clouds, what does that mean? We always know that clouds are what? They're kind of dark gray or white. There's no other color to clouds. What? Sometimes they reflect the sun and look kind of peachy or pink, but hey, only in Pixar or DreamWorks or Disney movies are they those colors, right? No, for real. Here, the skies are just... It's like I'm living in a Pixar dream. The skies literally look like I'm inside an animated Pixar movie. And remember the one with the old man whose wife died and he put balloons on his house and got up and lifted his house and went to the place they always wanted to go to together. It was like such a heart-wrenching. We took my cousin to this movie, not Up and Away was what it was called. we took my cousin, my mom's cousin to this, I guess cousin-in-law, no, I don't know, she was my cousin, but I don't know, once removed maybe, because my mom, I don't know, anyway, her and my mom were cousins, and they were best friends, and my uncle had died recently, and my cousin's husband, he wasn't my uncle, he was my, I guess, cousin-in-law, he had died, and to make my cousin feel better, we decided to go to the movie with her. And we went and didn't realize that was the story, that he was going to lose his wife and then take the trip. And it was really upsetting for her. And she loved it, though. She's like, I loved the movie. She's like, it's okay. It helped me to grieve a little bit. So, it was just, we felt so bad. Oh, my God. Because we went to Disneyland, and you don't have to pay to get into the movie theater there, and that's where we saw it, was at Disneyland, because we went to the Rainforest Cafe afterwards, which was an incredible, really incredible place to eat if you've never been. There's several Rainforest Cafes throughout California, but we went, and it was just a really lovely day. We just spent the day shopping. The Lakers were on, and there's this massive Jumbotron type TV, and I mean, thousands of people gathered around the TV to watch the Lakers, and we were all like, yeah, every time a basket was made, and it was just like, it was a really strange day. It was like so weird, but I think I applied for a credit card, which I was turned down from, but I won. You get to win a prize when you apply for the credit card. I knew I was going to get turned down, but I won one of the prizes for my kids, and I think he gave me two because I had two kids. I can't remember even what it was a hat or a t-shirt or something, or it was like so cool though. I was like, this is so awesome. It was just like the best day, but I don't even know why I got into that. Holy crap, why did I do that? But I do like the fact that in that movie he was floating. I love floating so much, but oh yeah, but in that movie, all the skies were the colors of all the skies I've seen here. I mean, in one sky, I've seen like purple, pink, peach, turquoise, and like 10 different shades of blue, all in a matter of 2 seconds. I mean, the sky, it's just, I don't know. I think the fifth dimension, though, is way more beautiful than the third dimension. And I feel like it's going to get more and more all over the planet, not just here. Every day that this happens, it just blows my mind. Periwinkle for a sky, like, wow. I mean, I'm not even on acid, but it looks like I am. I look at the sky, I'm like, man, it's almost like I'm on drugs, and I'm not. Stone cold sober, and here the sky is those colors. It's just so beautiful. So yesterday in my my strange channeling of the sun, the spirit of the sun, basically Mildred came by. She was an expatriate from the United States, and she just showed up, and I saw her energy, her spirit walk in my door and walk across, the length of my bed and sit at my desk in my chair. And it was facing me. She was wearing a little pink, like a business suit, and she had a little pink handbag, very light pink she was wearing. Her hair was kind of in an updo, and she had a little pink hat with a little bit of that lace that comes around. So it looks like she was in her Sunday finest. Okay. And it's I'm seeing this in my mind while I'm interviewing the sun, and she sits down, and at first she stood up and she looked at me and she's like, I'm going to need, she doesn't know what I'm doing. I'm not making a radio show. She didn't know that. It just looks like I'm talking to my phone. And she says, excuse me, I'm going to need help. And she's this cute, adorable little old lady. Oh my God. She was so precious. So I'm like, okay. So I started talking to her a little bit during the show last night, but I didn't tell you guys the whole thing. And I asked her after the show. And so this is what happened after the show. She says, So what happened was I live alone. I live in Cuenca. I retired here after I left the United States because I couldn't afford it. And I, like to join the club. That's like why most of us are here. Some of the people are straight up really, really wealthy and they just wanted a nicer, bigger, better house and a beautiful environment. But the majority of people I know here, we're just like kind of struggling on the very little pay that we get anyway from the government. So, but we're still okay. We're okay enough to have fun. But in the U.S., we wouldn't have been able to pay bills. So that's kind of why most people live here. But she was on a little pension, I guess, and she's a little pensioner. And she says, so what happened was I died like right away. And she didn't explain why, but she showed me that she was just kind of walking through her house and then she collapsed and then that was just the end of it. And she got up out of her body and she saw the light, but then she looked around and realized, oh my God, I live alone. And she had 3 cats and then there was a 4th cat, a stray cat that she had been trying to adopt because she was feeding it as it kept coming around. And she said she mostly kept it outside because it was a little dirty yet, but she was feeding it and she had her own 3 cats. And she realized that no one was going to feed the cats and she didn't know how to open the door in her spirit body. And she was very, very worried. And so her spirit stayed with the cats and just, I guess, kept bugging the neighbors until the neighbors got the idea to come look for her. And so they came and they looked for her and they found her body and then they took in the cats. But after all of that was done, I guess her window of opportunity to leave in the light was gone. And so she shows up in her Sunday finest with her little handbag ready to go to heaven. Most adorable thing I've ever seen. She was like the most adorable spirit I've ever crossed over. But I just had Archangel Raphael and Archangel Michael come and take her. I put a little platform underneath her feet. And I said, make sure you could just sit. You don't have to stand. She says, oh, thank you, dear. I'm so old. Because she was still buying into like her last self, which is just a few days ago. And I thought how adorable. Her name was Mildred. She told me my name is Mildred. She was so super cute and so sweet. And I was like, oh my God. Can you imagine? I'm a haunting spirit now because I wanted to make sure my cats were going to get fed. Totally sweet. I mean, oh my God. I still have the Incan warrior in here. I haven't talked to him yet. I wanted to really think about it for a couple days and he's quiet. He's still in here. He's just looking at me. When I change my clothes, I tell him to look away and he's pretty respectful. He does. He hasn't said anything. He's just been very, very a man of integrity. So thank God for that. I would have kicked him out. I would have sent him to heaven already if he wasn't. But I'm going to talk to him and ask him some questions. Probably, I don't know, the next couple of days. I'm going to really think about it, get some information. I got his name at least and where he grew up and in a volcano, like pretty far away from here, like 10 hours by bus. So, I mean, it took him a while to find me, I guess. I've been in Ecuador 2 years, but I think the spirits kind of just go around till they find a medium that can help them and see them and willing to deal with them. And maybe it's just few and far between. There's not a lot of people doing the psychic medium spirit crossover type work. I mean, I don't know. It's just where my focus is always, it's been on the death, Like my near twin, Jude, he's always focusing on where were we in past lives when we weren't on Earth, when we were incarnate, not the life between lives, but the incarnate part. So it's just so interesting. It's interesting. It's like, depends on where your focus is. He's like, how come you don't remember this stuff? I'm like, well, I don't, because my focus is on the here and now. And I'm focused on when spirits come, I cross them over to the other side, and focused on my past lives here on Earth, because that right there is usually enough of a mind blow for most people, you know. And when you start to realize that we are galactic humans, not just humans on Earth, you know, that's an even more big of a mind blow. The fact that we're ascending is a big mind blow as well. I mean, a lot of you who are brand new to the waking up spiritual thing, I mean, you're getting all this massive downloads of information all at once. Whereas those of us who've taken our own sweet time over the past 35 years to awaken spiritually, or some of us 40 years, not me, but you know, I've seen people 40 and 50 years they've been on the spiritual path are on YouTube. It blows my mind. But like Shri and Kira, my gosh, Shri, he's up there in age, man, and they're like, they've been ascended like themselves, like I think in the fifth dimension for probably 20 years. But they live on Tosa Blue Mountain over just outside of Cuenca. In fact, some of the places I've been looking at on the internet, I mean, provided my investments go well, I'm going to try to buy like a sizable property. I think it won't be too far from where they are, actually. There's a lot of Incan ruins and, you know, a lot of places like with high vibrational stuff where Incans used to live. And so I'm going to talk to this Incan guy in the next day or two and really get as much information from him as I can about what went on there. I might even try to go visit these lands, whether I have the money or not, if I can, because I want to go see if there are spirits there, and I want to talk to them. I want to know more about the life, what it was like day to day. Then it's interesting to me. You know, then I'll release them to the light, and I know how to do it with the sun god Inti. I know what to do, because a lot of spirits, Incans, have the strong beliefs, and they won't leave unless the right person comes to get them, because they won't trust it otherwise. And when he doesn't come to get you, because he may not exist, he might just be an idea that someone made up. You know, I don't know. I don't know if it's true or not. They call the sun god Inti, but I don't think that what their representation, I don't know. But all I do know is that a lot of spirits have told me, well, he didn't come, so we couldn't go. And since he didn't come, we thought we can't trust anything else. So I don't know what to make about that. It's not like every Incan that died stayed here. Most of them left, but there still were a lot. I've released thousands throughout Peru. I've released tens of thousands of spirits in Peru. A lot of that might account why a lot of the Limanians, the people from Lima, overall there's a pretty like bad attitude throughout that city. Loved it. I loved it. I mean, I want to go back, but I'm afraid they'll get stuck because she doesn't like me. I could not leave until I promised I would come back. But as far as girlfriends go, the city of Lima is a really terrible one to have for me. Other people went to Lima and had a great time and just met up with nothing but great luck. And I'm like, wow, usually I have good luck, but in that city, I sure as hell did not. But very weird. Anyway, so I had to tell you guys about Mildred and the sky and all my ideas lately about dragons. I've been thinking a lot about time anomalies and dragons, and every day, the clouds look like dragons here. There's always one or two. Unless the sky is completely covered in like gray, foggy clouds that have no, they're amorphous, they have no shape at all. But usually when there's any kind of sky showing behind the clouds, usually I'm seeing dragons out there. The dragon-shaped clouds. I was looking at pictures of skies over different areas of Ecuador, and I saw a bunch of clouds that were shaped like letters, and 3 of them said sex. Oh my God. I've seen sex written in the sky a couple times. It's hilarious. It's like, why? It's like, are you advertising? Like, who exactly is writing these words in the sky? Is it aliens in their ships? They're like the teenagers are like, looking out the back window of the ships, they're bored and they're like writing sex in the clouds to get human children to laugh. Like I always wonder about this. Like how are the clouds spelling the word sex right now? And I know that there's signs and there's symbols and there's messages in the clouds. Maybe they're telling me to have sex. I don't know. It's hilarious. But I've seen that 2 or 3 times. And today I saw actually someone got in a photograph and they didn't even point it out. It was just like, well, this land is for sale. And I'm like, dude, it says sex above the land. Who wouldn't want to buy that land, right? Nuns, I suppose. But I mean, oh my God. Gore Vidal and his boyfriend, I suppose. I mean, they've been together 40-something odd years, and they were celibate most of that time. When you're celibate with the one you love, I guess that eliminates jealousy. You'd think that they wouldn't have been able to live that long not having, but I don't know. I mean, I've lived quite a long time without. So, but I just thought that was hilarious that, yeah, this is just sex. Sex in the clouds, baby. All right, I wanted to go over the Schumann Resonance today. Was really crazy for the heart mouth, but we're going to go over disclosure. Oh no, gotta plug in the phone, damn it. Looks like this is going to be late. Hey guys, we are still having issues with the electronics. Yesterday, I did the entire show and I didn't have to plug in the phone. It took about 22%, maybe 30%. That was it. I still had a lot of charge left at the end of the show yesterday. And today I had 89% charge, and just after the first half, just there, it went down to 1 and said it was going to shut off in 14 seconds. I don't know why it says 15. It always says 14. So weird. Anyway, I'm going to finish up the introduction. And then I'm going to keep this plugged in. It's plugged in now. I'm going to keep it plugged in for a while. So again, we're not going to get this out probably till 5 a.m. my time, which is it's 2 a.m. California time, so that's okay, but I'm going to be 2 hours late again. I'm so sorry about that, guys. Anyway, maybe I shouldn't have a deadline at all. My near twin says, it's your show, you don't have to have a deadline. I'm like, yeah, but I know you guys, a lot of you are commuters and you need the show to listen to for your day, so although tomorrow is Saturday, so hopefully nobody has to go to work. Except me, I have to work on the show. Yay! So, alright. Let's get down to it. DisclosureNews.it. It's not a whole lot again. It's just power 22 is all it says. Shortly after midnight local time from the graph corresponding to 17 UTC time, we saw a slow gradual increase in amplitude values that reached power 17 at 8 UTC. It seems that the activity should continue. Then the evening report says the movements continued and grew steadily till 10 UTC, when it reached today's high at power 22 to return to normal values just after. So, I mean, it's like not a lot, right? Not a lot of movement there. But just wait. On heartmouth.org, as always, it's a lot more exciting and strange. It's either more or less than Italy, usually. California stopped values at 64 to begin with at midnight, and by 5 a.m. they had gone down to 59. And Hofuf, Saudi Arabia, 0 all the way across. They've been at 0 for quite a long time. They had a little bit of a bump. 2 days ago, they went up to 4. And that, I'm looking at this is just odd. They were at 0, and then they were at 2, and then they were at 4. And they went back down to 2, and then 0, and that's it. No 1, no 3, no 5. and then just back straight since well, I'd have to say from midnight until 5 a.m. Well, I should say midnight the day before. So for like a whole day, and like 15 hours, or what would that be? I'm sorry, 17 hours. Just back to zero again. Just crazy. Just like that. Oh, not Alberta, Canada. Lithuania is the next one on the list. And Lithuania started off at 127 Hertz frequency at midnight. And they went to 121 by 5 a.m. Alberta, Canada started off at 87 and went down to 78. Is that a palindrome? Oh yeah, no, wait, that's not a palindrome. Never mind. Mirror opposites from 87 to 78. That's very odd. Alright. Northland, New Zealand started off at 126 at midnight, and by 5 a.m. they were 86 on the Schumann Resonance scale. But the next one, I hope to God it surprises you, because guess what? At 11 o'clock last night, the Schumann Resonance for Hululu, South Africa was 700 Hertz frequency. 700. I mean, they've been in the 600s, but my God. And then at midnight, they were down to 699. And by 5 a.m., they were down to 589. 700 though, guys. 700. That's completely crazy. All right. In A Course in Miracles, the lesson that we're going to keep our vibrations high with hearing this information. It's a very high vibrational teaching. Lesson 158 is where we're at. acim.org is the website for the Foundation for Inner Peace. You could also download the app for free. Start the lessons. If you've been thinking about it, tossing the idea around your heads, it's never too late to start. You can start at any time, but I would maybe encourage you to start it now, because you're going to take, I don't know, if you're like me, some of these lessons I took 2 or 3 weeks on. I do the lesson, but I do it every day for a couple weeks, because some of them, you kind of want that to stick a little more in your subconscious mind, so I don't know. If you're anything like me, then you might want to do that. Otherwise, you can just do one lesson a day for a whole year, see where you're at in a year. Might want to start on January 1st, or maybe on December 31st, so that next year, on December 31st, you'll be done. So, I don't know. Lesson 158 is, today I learn to give as I receive. Today I learn to give as I receive. What has been given to you? The knowledge that you are a mind, in mind and purely mind, sinless forever, holy, unafraid, because you were created out of love. Nor have you left your source, remaining as you were created. This was given you as knowledge which you cannot lose. It was given as well to every living thing, for by that knowledge only does it live. You have received all this. No one who walks the world but has received it. It is not this knowledge which you give, for this is what creation gave. All this cannot be learned. What then are you to learn to give today? Our lesson yesterday evoked a theme found earlier in the text. Experience cannot be shared directly in the way that vision can. The revelation that the Father and the Son are one will come in time to every mind. Yet, is that time determined by the mind itself? Not taught. Alright, so It goes on. This is kind of a longer lesson. I'm going to skip to the middle. Christ's vision has one law. It does not look upon a body and mistake it for the Son whom God created. It beholds a light beyond the body, an idea beyond what can be touched, a purity undimmed by errors or pitiful mistakes and fearful thoughts of guilt from dreams of sin. It sees no separation, and it looks on everyone, on every circumstance, all happenings, and all events without the slightest fading of the light it sees. Anyway, it goes on to talk about all your sins are forgiven since you're fine. Everything you do is fine. There's no such thing as sin. Did you hear the confirmation horn in the background? There's no such thing as sin. Boop. That was awesome. Oh my God. So it's just practice seeing with the eyes of Christ today. By the holy gifts we give, Christ's vision looks upon ourselves as well. Today I learn to give as I receive. All right, that's it. I'm going to take a quick break. When I come back, I'm going to talk to you guys about what happens when we die, basing it on what happened to me when I died and came right back. I don't mean reincarnation. I mean in this life. I've died, oh goodness, like 5 times. But I'm going to talk about what happens under different circumstances, and it's possible I maybe died a couple more times. So we're going to have a conversation about that with the knowledge I have now. And as I expand my knowledge, I will have another show on it. So, all right, right after this message, I'll be right back. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's high time you did. It is the absolute easiest way to make a podcast. First of all, it's absolutely free. Second of all, they have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. You guys have known that I've been doing this for 8 months using the Anchor.fm app right on my cell phone, and I have done it everywhere, right? I have recorded this in my living room, my bedroom, little cafes in Quito, Ecuador, all over Cuenca. It's so absolutely easy to make your podcast, and editing is just a snap. Anchor also will distribute your podcast for you, and it took me about 2.5 months to become syndicated, and now I'm available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more, and so can you. You can make money from your podcast also, and there's no minimum requirement. You get paid from your very first listener. It is everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. So please, if you are interested in making a podcast of your very own, do not hesitate to start with Anchor. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you. All right, guys. So what happens when we die, but during a near-death experience? Now, I've had 5 near-death experiences. Let me ask real quick. There's another thing, okay, that happens. I'm just going to ask my higher self if I had more than 10 death experiences. I came right back to this life. If I had less than that, if I had 1, if I had 4, if I had 9, if I had 7, wow, if I had 8, if I had 9. So I've had 8 times that's happened. I don't even know. Okay, well. Well, that's interesting. I didn't even know that. I didn't think to ask that. I thought it happened twice that I remember. Oh my God. Okay, so God's telling me more than 2 car accidents. It's a good thing I don't have a car. And I don't drive right now. Okay, so I'm going to talk about not my specific instances because I have talked quite a bit about it before. Like my near-death experiences have been once from a suicide attempt when I was very young, 3 from asthma, and I was struck by lightning was the other one. So I've had 5 near-death experiences in this life as Elena. I also, apparently just now, in real time, God just told me I've had 8 death experiences in which I came back. We're going to talk about that too, because that's a really freaky thing. So let's start with the regular death experiences. So we'll start with the suicide one and get that one out of the way. I'm not proud of it. I wasn't just like emotional and then that was it. I actually was told I was very, very sick. Like very sick. Like they gave me drugs that they give to AIDS patients, even though I don't have AIDS at all. Thank you, God. I don't have HIV, nothing like that. Nothing crazy like that. In fact, I have a certificate in my closet. You got to prove to the Ecuadorian government that you don't have HIV when you apply for a visa, actually. So some countries do that. Even in Egypt, they do that. Like all over the world, there's different laws, but you have to prove you don't have. So I don't have it anyway. Yay! But I had an immune disorder and I was sick, very, very, very sick, and I was not getting better. And I had just had one after another course of antibiotics, and I was not getting better. I was very sick. I was getting worse, and I was living with a narcissist who just, obviously, well, he didn't love me because he didn't know how to love. And when I would tell him how sick I was, could he please have his band practice somewhere else? Because we lived in a 1-room studio, which he knocked down the walls, so we live in a 1-room studio. We used to have a bedroom where that would have been a little bit more appropriate, but no. So if I'm sick, and I had an immune disorder at the time, I'd have to stay in the bed being sick in front of all these people, or in the front house with his mother who was very abusive, or I don't know what, I didn't have a car then. So it's like, when I'm sick, what am I supposed to go sit in the front yard, go down the street in LA? You know what I mean? It was like ridiculous. So I wasn't feeling very good. And he told me to go into the office in his mother's house, and he'll come get me when we're done. And he just talked trash about me. And it was like, that was like the constant thing. It was like almost every day like this. So I was depressed about that, but that's not what caused it. What caused it was when the doctor that I'd been seeing, she said, I'm going to give you antiviral therapy because it's the only thing that's going to get you better. And if it doesn't get you better, there's really no hope for you. You're probably going to die. So damn. And it was just like one thing after another. And it was like I had been on antibiotics for over 2 months and nothing was working. I started antiviral therapy and it didn't work. And it was pretty much, the verdict was, I'm going to die. It's going to be horrible. I'm going to cost my family hundreds of thousands of dollars to keep me on respirators and whatnot. So I just was depressed, and I called a friend of mine who didn't answer his phone. I called my girlfriend who said didn't feel like talking to me about my problems. And I called my mother and her TV show was on. No one took me seriously when I was like, I don't feel good. I'm really depressed. And I just want someone to talk to. And it's like most of these people, like the guy who didn't answer his phone, someone had stolen his phone. I found out months later. He never would have not taken my call. So it was just because he was like a really good friend of mine, but it was just like one of those nights where like nobody was responsive. It's probably something in the air, because these are people that did care for me and they deeply cared for me, but they just didn't in that moment. So, my boyfriend told me I was being overly whiny. I'm coughing crap out of my lungs, and was told that I was going to die, and he didn't care. He was like laughing and making jokes with his friends and, hey, let's have a soda or let's have a coffee, or, it was just everything was so happy. In spite of the fact that I was very, very sick. It's like he didn't notice. And then he told me that sickness was a weakness. And it was just like, it just like got me, it just got me. And I was just like, screw this crap. I'm just going to leave because this body's sick and I'm gone. I'll told God, I'm coming, like basically. And I was estranged from my dad at the time. I hadn't talked to him in years. And I'm glad obviously that I stayed and that everything worked out, but I'll never do it again. I want to die sometimes. I feel the suicidal thoughts sometimes still, like everyone does, but it's just the growing pains of the ascension. And I know that I don't really want to check out. I really don't, because who knows what's coming around the corner, Something great could come like the following week. And if you're dead, you're going to miss it. So, and I know that. And I've learned my lesson. But I was very young. I was like, 19 or 20. No, maybe, I don't even know, how old was I? Darn it. I was I was older because it was 94, whatever. So I think it was like 1995. So what is that? I was like 27, 26. No, I was younger than that. It was like 94. I think I was 90. Anyways, about 25. And it's like hard when you're that young to be told that's it. We can't help you. You're just all the doctors were negative and rude to me. They were like, they found out I had an immune disorder and asthma, and they just started whispering among themselves. They thought I had AIDS, even though I'd been tested negative with positive results, meaning I did not have it at all. And, they wouldn't treat me. They wouldn't even get me a glass of water for hours. It was like every time I had an issue, it was like nobody gave a crap about me. And it was like really horrible. It was just like, what the hell is wrong with people? It could be that everyone is reflecting and mirroring my own self-esteem issues at that time. I'm not there now, thank you God. But I had no confidence. I had low self-esteem. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I didn't really like myself much. My boyfriend was constantly putting me down, and I didn't really have anywhere else to go but to be with him, and he put me in that position. When my best friend came down from Santa Barbara, he whispered in her ear, and suddenly she's no longer my friend. My other friend came around, and for a while she avoided me, like for years. And he did that to everybody I knew. Like, he had friends over constantly, but if I had one friend over for 5 minutes, he freaked out totally. How dare you bring anyone back here? This is private. I'm like, well, you have like 6 people that come back here, or 7 people that come back here every day. And I'm not allowed to bring one person who you do know, who actually helped your band get gigs. You know what I mean? It was just like that kind of thing. Like, he was just straight up narcissist. Total jerk. And in that environment. So I just took a bottle of pills. I was in constant pain. I couldn't breathe. I was told I was going to die. I wrote a note, told my parents that, that I loved them and I'm sorry, but to explain the fact that I was dying from, you know what I mean? And so I just did it. That was it. And then I started to fall asleep, and my boyfriend came in and said, "What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?" And I was like still crying. I had like tears in my cheeks. He's like, "What's wrong with you?" He's like, "You're acting weird." I guess I was moving somehow. Moved my arms. Anyway. So he brought me in to the hospital in time. They pumped my stomach, but I died anyway. I went down a tunnel, but when you die, it's different than when you die spontaneously. So when you do it at your own hand, it's like, at least for me, it looked like a blue-gray tunnel like it does in the other way, but it seemed wet like a sewer, and there was like puddles of water everywhere, and it looked like an abandoned city, but there weren't like rats or anything. There was like nothing there at all. No people, no light at the end of the tunnel, just darkness. It was like a dim, kind of a bluish light, but just very dim. And it was a million times more lonely than where I just came from. And I just sat there for a while. And sometimes I thought I'd hear voices, but then they would go away. And I was in a coma for like 3 days. And when I came out, or started to come out, and I heard the voices, and they were getting louder and louder in the tunnel, and I still couldn't see anything. But I'd been like sitting down with my arms around my knees and kind of rocking back and forth going, what the hell just happened? I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. I mean, maybe I can get, I don't know if I could get better or not, but maybe I can. And I just really regretted it. I felt like, man, I felt so stuck. I was so stuck. So I heard the voices, and I heard someone say, well, we should just cut her hair then. Maybe we should just cut her hair off. I could get a razor, I'll just shave her hair. I'm like, oh my God. And then I got angry, and because I got angry, which was a much better emotion than being absolutely in despair with complete lack of hope, which is where I had been. Being angry is more active, right? It's less passive. So I got angry, and that's what pulled me out of it. And my mom and my grandma were at my side, and I was like, oh my God, they really do love me. And, the TV wasn't more important than me. I mean, that's how I felt in that moment. It was really horrible. And I had felt that way before. And so I was grateful that they were there. My stupid boyfriend is there, and that was it. But I was coming out of it, and they treated me, and I started to literally get sicker than I had been. I thought I was at the end of my rope, but apparently I was like not even sick enough yet. Apparently I could do better. And I ended up in quarantine for 10 days because I started coughing up blood. When I was in quarantine for 10 days, my boyfriend started throwing parties for me, or not for me, but for himself, to ignore the fact that he didn't care if I was there or not. Like, I called, and he's like, oh, I have a few friends over, just having a few drinks. Oh, it's just the band. It's just my friends. And it sounded like a massive party, not just because the people in this band were very quiet normally. And he picked me up from the hospital, took me to his house. All my stuff was in boxes, and told me to get the F out. And he drove me to a cheap motel. But his mother was threatening to kill me. It was like a big scene. I didn't feel safe. They both got kind of violent. I called the cops, and the cops came, and my stupid narcissist boyfriend was so embarrassed because his father was the district attorney, and he like shoved his head, I don't know how the hell he did it, shoved his head in the center of the couch in between the cushions with his ass sticking straight up in the air. And because he was so fat, his pants came down, and his ass was literally BAing, bare-assing the cops. And they're like, what the hell's wrong with him? I go, I don't know. I think he's mentally ill. He might just be embarrassed that his father's a district attorney. And they're like, sir, we're going to have to ask you to get up. We're going to have to see your face. We have to make sure you don't have any weapons. Sir, are we going to have to take you into the mental? I mean, it was like probably the most spectacular breakup ever when you want to think about it that way. But pretty freaking funny. You pretty much tell who he was if you look up the district attorney in Los Angeles in 1995, 1994 or whatever. Pretty freaking crazy. But I don't know. It was just like really weird though. Like the tunnel was dark and gray. Okay, so now one time before that, I died of asthma. I was still with the same boyfriend. I'd been very sick with him the whole time. Probably because he was so mean to me that it just made me feel so emotionally. I felt so alone. But he kept putting me in situations. He had dogs, and I was very allergic to the dogs. And he it just kept putting me in situation after situation in which I was going to get sicker. And that one night, he made me walk. Oh, walking's good for asthma. So he forced me to walk when I was having an attack. And it got worse and worse and worse. And I started to get very dizzy. And he took me to the hospital. And at least he did that much. And told the doctors that I'm just making shit up. And then I died on the table right after, five minutes later. Yeah, sure, making things up, right? And then, like I started to see just this white that came over me. And it was just whiteness, just complete. Like I went into the light immediately. And I don't remember anything that happened after that, right? I do know that when I came out of the hospital 2 weeks later, it was about 10 days later, I had the ability to see people's auras if they're about to die. And I could tell you how long people had left. Just like that. Because I died. And when you die, I think it kind of thins the veil for you for the rest of your life. Every time it happens, you get thinner. The veil gets thinner and thinner, and you could tell things. And now I'm helping people cross over. So, like, I wasn't doing this work before. Like with sweet little Mildred, and my Inca friend here is standing here very stoically, very interesting person. But, so I remember the first time I noticed that someone was going to die. I was seen in the car. He was taking me home from the hospital. And he told me to stay in the car. He's going to go get us an iced tea. He'll get one for me, whatever. And so I get out. I wasn't going to get out of the car, and I was hot, so I unrolled the window, even though it was cold outside. And I looked at this man, and I was just like, he's going to die. That's really weird. I just knew it. And then I got up to go tell my boyfriend what kind of tea I wanted, what flavor. Something really dumb like that. So I got out of the car and I was walking towards a gas station. Towards a mini mart, whatever, in the gas station. And halfway between the two things, a pigeon came and it flew smack into the overhead roof over, even though it's an outdoor gas station, obviously there's like a roof over it. It smacked not on the outside of it, but right in front of me. Like it went underneath it and then right up again. And it committed suicide right in front of me and dropped at my feet. And I was like, oh my God. And I ran over to it and I picked the bird up. And it was still alive, and I was like, oh my God, and I didn't want to move its spine around, right? And I was like trying to steady its head, and I was just petting it, and it died in my hands. right when my boyfriend was walking out with our iced teas in his hands. And he was just like, oh my God, what happened? You know, it's like, what? So I don't know if this kind of crap happens to everybody who's had a near-death experience. This would happen to me after, right? Or like before. I mean, after like my very first one. So basically a pigeon committed suicide and died in my arms. Like the day after I got to the hospital from my first near-death experience. And then so all right, so then the suicide one happened after that. And then after that, let's see. I'm trying to figure out which. So it was like asthma, then suicidal thing, and then asthma again. Must have been, yeah. So I ended up obviously broke up with that guy, and had a few years, and then I met my husband, basically, and actually my first husband, that was my third near-death experience, was with him, and I got valley fever. It was like millions of years old mountain cracked open during the earthquake, and millions of years old bacteria, illnesses that hadn't been seen. I don't know how they knew it was that old, but anyway, a lot of people got it. People with immune system disorders, people with asthma, old people, and children. And like people started dying from that. And I died from that, but I came back. They revived me. But what happened that day was I heard a voice, and the voice said, if you don't call 911 right now, you're going to die. Holy crap. So my husband only been home for like 10 minutes. We weren't married yet. We got married because this happened to me. He didn't want me to be without insurance. He wanted to make sure I was safe, and he loved me, and so that's why we got married. Not the best reason, but, love was, but the fact that he didn't want me to not have insurance, right? The only way I could get insurance was if I married somebody with insurance, because I was consistently denied because I had been so sick. Doesn't make any sense. The U.S. makes zero freaking sense. So anyway, I ended up I went outside, waiting for the ambulance, and I saw Metatron. It wasn't Metatron. It was actually Archangel Michael, but he was as big as Metatron appears. He was enormous. He was bigger than it's like a 4 or 5 story apartment building next door to my house that I was renting. Really strange neighborhood. But he was taller than that. And I saw him, and all these people from Central America were living next door, and they heard me screaming. And they came out, and I was like, look, it's an angel. And I'm like, do you guys see the angel? And I was like looking at them, I was pointing. I'm like, he's huge. It's Archangel Michael. And they were like, oh my God. And they saw me saying, I see Archangel Michael. It was so embarrassing. And then the ambulance came, and I'm like, how are you guys not seeing him? He was like, he had like a robe, or like a robe or a cape. I don't know. It was red. He had red on. He's got armor. He's got a sword in one hand and scale of justice in the other. He says, are you coming with me or not? If you choose to come with me right now, you're going to have to come back for 18 more lifetimes and go through all this again or more, or this is your last life. And if you choose to stay, then this is it. This is your last life. But you have to go through your hell to get to your heaven. And I said, okay, I'm going to go. I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go with you. I mean, I'm going to go. I'm going to live. I'll go with you now for a few minutes if you want to take me for a few minutes. But he says, you're going to come with me now. You're going to come with me, but you're going to have to choose right now. Do you want to come with me and come back to earth, or do you want to come with me and stay in heaven? But you're going to have to come back for 18 more lifetimes. I'm like, well, holy crap. I don't want to be here for 18 more lifetimes. This sucks. This freaking sucks, So I love the people I love, but I mean, frick, this sucks. I could love them from a distance, from another planet or something. But so I he said, you're going to come with me either way, but you have to come back or not. So I was given the choice. I said, okay, fine. I'll stay on Earth. Damn it. So pissed off. I was so pissed. So the ambulance comes up and they put me on the gurney and they take me like to the hospital. It was like only a couple blocks away, which was insane. I had no idea that it was only a couple blocks away because we had just moved to the neighborhood and we thought the nearest place was like 10 miles away. So it was just like, and we figured, you know, an ambulance could race, you know, with the siren and whatever. So I remember thinking, I got in there and I touched this man's arm and his forearm was so soft. And I remember thinking, we're so fragile as human beings, and his soft skin was so delicate. And I thought, even though he's a man and he's like, men are supposed to be rough and tumble, right? That's what I was always taught. But in that moment, I felt like we're just flesh. And when we think of ourselves as only human, that's all we are. We're so vulnerable to little microscopic things that we can't even see sometimes. We're vulnerable to car wrecks. We're vulnerable to people running around errantly with weapons. Snakes, dogs, whatever the hell can kill us. Earthquakes, you know, acts of God, you know, like in that moment, I just started realizing all this, that we are so vulnerable as humans in these bodies. These bodies are so vulnerable. Even though I knew I'm a spirit inhabiting the body, I was so into my body, if that makes sense. Like I just knew I'm a human here and this is it. And it's like it made me feel so vulnerable. I don't know how to explain it. And I was touching his arm and how beautiful his arm was, and I just went into the light. Now, from the other end, what I heard later was that I was brought in dead on arrival to the hospital. So I died during those 2 blocks, and that was it. And I was like wax. All the blood had drained from my body. They put me in the critical care ICU, and I was there for like 2 weeks. And they moved me up to the telemetry unit, and my heart stopped, my lungs stopped. My brain, thank you God, did not stop. ADHD to the rescue. But people came to visit me, and I don't even remember. And I saw them like months later, and they were like, remember I came to visit you in the hospital? I'm like, you did? I thought no one cared. I thought no one loved me. I didn't think anybody except my boyfriend came to see me. And then right after, I married him. And, during that one, I remember just going to the light. And then it was more like the circumstances around me. So when you die, it's not just the stuff's happening inside your mind and in your spirit. It's what's happening on the circumstances around you. So when I was brought in, this man was a janitor, and he was taking care of the floor in the emergency room in the ICU unit. And he saw me, and he was like freaked out. It freaked him out to see me. And then later, 2 weeks went by, and he was then on the 5th floor where I was, sweeping or like mopping the floors again. And he saw me, and he went, oh my God. And he was just like, oh my God. And I'm like, what? Are you okay? You know, I'm like worried about him. You know, I'm on a heart monitor, and I'm worried about him. And he's like, it's just that. And he started crying, and he said, okay, I'm going to tell you something. When you were brought in, you were like wax, and you died. You were dead. They said, we've got a code blue. She's DOA or something like that. And so he said, I didn't know what happened to you. I didn't know. And I was so terrified that was it for you. And something about your face struck me. that you were so young and you're so beautiful and you look like you had so much life left ahead of you. How could God let this happen? So it really affected him. So he went home and he said, that was my last night of working for my 2-week vacation. He said, so he went home and he told his wife and his kids and his parents and his whole family and everyone in his church about me. And they all prayed for me. They prayed and prayed and prayed hard for me. All of these strangers prayed for me. I had no idea. 2 weeks go by and he sees me and he just broke down and cried and he's like, is this gonna sound weird? Can I just hug you? And he told me that. I'm like, yeah, of course. And he hugged me and he goes, what happened? What the hell happened to you? Why did you die? He's like, it wasn't drugs, right? I could tell you don't do drugs. There's something about you don't have a look about someone. I'm like, well, I smoke weed sometimes. He's like, well, hell, everyone does, right? And start laughing about that. He's like, no, he said, what happened? And I told him, I think I got that fever. I was coughing up dark green stuff out of my lungs, like long, ropey, like it was like a moss coming out of my lungs, like dark green moss. It wasn't normal, like at all. It was that fever, that valley fever from millions of years ago. It almost killed me. It did kill me, but I came back. And so he was shocked. He's like, oh my God. And I go, well, I have a weak immune system because I got sick on an army base, and that's a whole nother thing. But ever since I got this Epstein-Barr virus, this very virulent strain of Epstein-Barr virus, which is a biochemical warfare from, they use this on people in Iraq. There's a lot of people in Iraq with this immune disorder, babies and women. It was indiscriminate, but they tested it out on people on the base, but they had the cure, and my boyfriend got a shot, and bada boom, bada bing, he's fine. And here I am 25 years later, still suffering from it. So, but anyway, I told him about that. I said that, and then coupled with the asthma, and probably I'm not living the best lifestyle. I'm probably not getting enough sleep. I'm probably not taking the right vitamins, or maybe I'm not eating the right food. I don't know, but I do my best. But I think I eat too many Pop-Tarts, It's got to be what it is. And thank God I'm in South America. We don't have Pop-Tarts here. Maybe they do. I just don't go down that aisle. But the grocery store, I just avoid that kind of stuff now. But he was just like, man, we prayed for you for a long time. We hoped you were alive, and I never heard back. I didn't know anything because I had had my 2-week vacation. And so basically the last night before he went on vacation, that's what he saw. And his first night back, he saw me again. God puts you in your way, in your path, when you go through these near-death experiences. And I think he was like an earth angel for me. And I'll never forget, what he did for me. Total stranger. Random acts of kindness follow you, I think when you're basically a good person. And so that's something that kind of surrounds the death thing. You'll run into people who are touched by it that you wouldn't expect. Complete strangers are affected too. Not just the people you think should love you. I mean, they're not always affected. It's really weird how that works. But obviously, I don't even think my mom and grandma came to see me when I was in the hospital. I don't think they did. I don't think they could travel. I think they were too old by then. Maybe. And maybe they did. And you know what? That's the thing. Maybe they did. And I was in a coma during that time too. I think it was a medically induced coma. So again, I don't remember what happened. I just remember the angel. So then fast forward to now, when I died in my husband's arms, again from asthma, again from an unresponsive doctor who my medical insurance changed my doctor and gave me this young buck hotshot that just doesn't believe in giving out steroids. And I'm like, I know how my body works. I know if I don't have them sometimes, I'll die. I died from this, right? And he didn't believe me. Didn't care to look at my records, didn't really just care at all. Didn't give me the right medicine, and I went home and I knew I was going to die. I just was like, I'm so scared. My baby was 6 months old, and my asthma is hormonally related. Every time I breastfed my child, I would have a really bad asthma attack. I'd take my inhaler and it wasn't effective. I mean, I was taking it like 10 times a day, 12 times a day. It just wasn't working. They basically said, you're going to have a heart attack from your inhaler. It was really bad. And so, but I was way healthier than I had been before, right? Got out of the situation. My husband knew what minerals and vitamins to give me, and he was a nurse, and he knew what to do, and he cared about me, and he knew that it wasn't my fault. It wasn't an emotional or mental weakness that I was sick. It was just that I had a weak immune system and asthma, just, normal stuff. He was normal about it. Made me feel good about myself. He's like, you're a good person. It's just that this is your weakness. Everybody has something, right? So, I couldn't breathe. The inhaler wasn't working. Nothing was working. I took my pills that I had at the time for asthma, and nothing was working. And he said, you know what, let's just try weed. I mean, you have a prescription for marijuana so that, the cannabis will take the inflammation out of your lungs. It'll help you cough stuff up. I'm like, well, I don't want to smoke because I'm having an attack, right? I already can't breathe. He's like, well, if you're going to die anyway, I'm going to pray. I'm going to give you Reiki. We both did Reiki. I'm like, all right, let's do it. So I took a couple hits off the bong, and weed saved my life. But what happened was, my lungs swelled up. I took 2 hits off the bong, and my lungs were already swelling up, and they swelled up, and that was it. And my husband put his arms around me, and I was looking at my little girl, my firstborn, and she was 6 months old, sleeping on her blanket. And this is the best of all the near-death experiences. This is the one that was the best one. So I was, because I remember what happened after I died, right? So I had my Kundalini awakening, and I talk more about this one during my Kundalini awakening experience episode. So I was, my husband had his arms around me, and I said, I think I'm going to die, so please always tell Shanti that I love her, and I always will. I'll be her guardian angel. And yours too. I said my goodbyes because I knew it was at the end. I was going to die, I had even seen that day that my aura was gray. I could look in the mirror and see, oh shit, I'm going to die today. I had to tell him, this is it. The doctor wouldn't give me the medicine. There's no way to get it. Thank God I'm in the country now. I can walk across the street and get anything I want without a prescription. I don't need a doctor. To put my life in his hands, right? I mean, you can't get the good stuff. Don't come down here thinking you get Vicodin, because that's not going to happen. But you could get basic inhalers and stuff at any pharmacy. There's pharmacy on every corner. It's awesome, Especially when you have asthma, you could go. This one doesn't have it. Go the next one over. They probably have the prednisone you need. So. I just have to know the Spanish name for it. Anyway, so I was in his arms. I put my head on his shoulder, and he was holding me, and he was crying, and I was crying, and I left my body. Now, to him, I don't think he realized I died. He was just holding me up and crying. He was going to hold me until he couldn't hold me anymore. And this is my husband that died of brain cancer. But he wasn't sick at this time. Anyway, my Kundalini started to raise, but at first I just died in his arms and I left my body. And the first thing that happened was I was in a blue-gray tunnel, the way that other people have described. And as I was going down the tunnel, I was like, have you ever seen those vampire movies where people are like floating? Or it's like they're standing on a skateboard and someone's pulling them with a rope and they're just going all smooth. It's like you can't see below their knees, so you don't know if they're on a skateboard or whatever. That's what it looks like. Or like a people mover at the airport in LA, you just stand on the thing and it moves you forward straight. It's not an up or down thing, it just like goes straight. That's what I felt like. It was like that. I was like, I'm on a people mover. It's an automatic thing and it's just moving me along. I don't have to move my legs or shuffle my feet or nothing. And I'm just like moving forward. And I saw people to the edges of me. During the suicide life, or, NDE, no one was there. I was alone. I mean, if you think you're alone now and then you want to kill yourself, I'm going to tell you right now, you've never been more alone than on the other side when no one comes to meet you. Because that's what you just did. No one will meet you. And it does feel like a punishment. It might be a self-punishment, but it's just like nobody wants to have anything to do with you. So don't do it because it's not worth it. That feeling is very lonely. But anyway, I'm on a people mover and I can feel people to the right and to the left of me. And I can feel some people behind me. And I felt like maybe they were angels, but I couldn't see them. And I'm like, people moving forward. And as I go forward, my 6-month-old daughter came to me as a young woman in her spirit body form. And she says, I love you, Mom. And no matter what happens, I'm with you. Like, I love you so much. I'm sorry you're going to grow up without a mom. And she's like, it's okay. I understand all this spiritual stuff, so don't worry. So we're still people moving along. And then Grandma Marion was with me. And she also was alive at the time, still. And then we get to the gate at the end where the light at the end of the tunnel is. And there was a gate, and standing in the gate was George, Marion's husband, who had passed. And he was just inside the gate. And the people that were alive, they were ushering me to the gate, stopped before they got to the gate. And then the people that had passed were either at the gate or like on the other side of the gate. So it was like a gate, and it was like kind of opening, and I went inside. When I stepped inside, George said, "It's so good to see you again. I'm sorry I didn't get to see you in this life. But we're friends, on the other side, basically." And I'm like, "Oh my God, George, I recognize you from your pictures. I'm so glad to meet you. And again, see you again." And then Mahavatar Babaji, my spirit, basically my guru, and Paramahansa Yogananda welcomed me at the gate. And I think I remember seeing Swami Sri Yukteswarji there as well. But he didn't say anything. He just kind of bowed. And I think Lahiri Mahasai, I think they were all there. The Self-Realization Fellowship Masters were there. I don't remember seeing Yeshua there, but I think he was there. Because then I was brought to like I think I was brought to a basin, right? And it's like a pensieve in Harry Potter. And I was brought there, and I was able to see all of my life, all the things I did wrong, all the things I did right, all the times I hurt people, all the times I made them feel good. And I got to see my whole life. And I saw up until the point in which I was dying, and then they let me see 3 months ahead. Actually, I think it was like a year or two ahead. And then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, wait, oops." And then they pulled me away from it. "Oh, sorry. You weren't supposed to see that. Oops." We let it go on too far. You got in too deep and you saw the future. I was like, oh my God. Well, thank you for that. I saw like a fight I had with my husband. I saw a fake fight that we had. And then I saw a real fight that we had. I saw my apologizing to him and telling him I love him and I'm sorry that I hurt his feelings. I saw my second child as a toddler running around. And I knew I was going to live. And I was like, thank you guys for letting me see the future. And I think they did it on purpose. Or they allowed it to go on a little longer. Because time is fluid. You have your future and your past and your present. It's all fluid. It's like, oh, you know. And then they said, well, we have a special surprise. And my guardian angels were with me. My angel, and I think at that point Jesus was with me, but he's kind of hanging back, letting me have the experience so I would remember it. And I was in the crystal city. I was like in heaven. I was fully there. And I was walking around in heaven. And I didn't see all of my relatives, which sometimes people do see their relatives, but this time I just saw the masters of light. And then I was brought to, they said, we're going to take you to the throne room. And I went to the throne room, and it was a marvelous hall. It was made from all gold. The hall, it was white marble floors. And I think it had like veins of maybe gold and silver running through it. I can't really remember. I wasn't really looking. I was looking at the gold. I was like, oh my God. It's like, it was almost so gaudy, you know, gaudy, G-O-D-Y. It was really amazing. And I saw God, but she was a she. I got to see Divine Mother. And at first I just could see the throne. It was like no one was there. It was like a massive, I mean, I would imagine it's the size of the Lincoln Memorial. If you're standing, you know, in front of the Lincoln Memorial, I've seen pictures of people in front of that, and that's how big it was. Solid gold. And I think it had like a burgundy velvet sort of seat and backing and red velvet curtains behind that. And I was like, oh my God, this is a really beautiful throne, but who's going to be sitting on it? All of a sudden, she appeared, and she was so bright. She was brighter than 1,000 suns in my eyes, but didn't burn me. I didn't feel any heat. I just felt radiating love and warmth. And she said, my child, my dear child, my dear sweet child, I love you so much, and you have suffered so much, and you don't need to have asthma any longer if you don't want it. You know, and she said, you've struggled so much with it, and I'm going to take all of that burden from you. You won't have to take as much, you know, medication. And basically it was, I got the gist that I would still have it, but not as bad as it was. Like the massive burden was lifted from me because of all my spiritual work I had done. And I bowed before her and I said, thank you, Divine Mother. I love you so much. And I was crying and she was like telling me that she loves me, and she says, you're not going to stay here today, but I'll see you again. And I want you to ask me anything you want. I said, well, the scientists have been trying to come up with a mathematical equation about, you know, the universal theory, the theory of everything. And no one's been able to come up with a formula yet. And I want to know what that is. And she waved her arm and a chalkboard appeared and she drew out the formula and I saw it. And I'm like, oh, of course. Oh, that's so perfect. She says, of course it's perfect. It's how we're all joined as one, spelled out mathematically. We all are one. And I remember looking and just this, it was so short and so simple. And there was only a couple things on the left. And then it said equals. And then on the right it said 1. It just said, of course it's equals 1 because it's the theory of everything and we all are one. And she showed me the math and she explained the math to me and I believed her. I knew everything. I mean, I obviously believe it's God, right? So I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh my God. I mean, on the other side, I know quantum mechanics 100%, and I understood all of it. And I was like, wow. She's like, anything else? And I asked her a couple questions about animals, and I think I asked her about reincarnation, if that was true. And she said, of course it's true. You know, you remember your lives. I'm like, I do. But I didn't know if I was making it up. And she said, no, you're not. It's real. So I think I asked her a couple more questions, and she said, I think it's time to send you back now because I don't want you to be out of your body too long. I'm like, okay, I understand. But I felt so free and so big. Your soul is enormous and it's unencumbered. And I had to come back through the white light, back through the gray tunnel. And I had to squish my big, beautiful, glorious white body, my white soul. Everyone's soul were like white light. We're just energy. And I had to squeeze it back into this tiny little 5-foot body that was slightly overweight from having given birth and having the water weight from having the asthma. And I was just so depressed. I did not want to be back in this body, even though I love this body and I appreciate it very much. I was so mad. Even though I wanted to raise my kid, I wanted to be her, and thank you, God, I've been able to. But I was so, for weeks after, I was so depressed because I know what it's like to feel free and unencumbered and to see God and to know anything you want in the universe instantly. You're so smart on the other side, and you're so light. You're light in every way. You are physically light, and you are light in body. You float everywhere. It's probably where I get this floating thing now that I think about it. I want to float all the time. I want to have a swimming pool and float on my swimming pool, and I want to go talk to that girl in Japan who made the floating car. Look that up. Look up Jay Leno Award floating car. Seriously, just trust me on that. I want to take that technology and make houses that float, like little tiny cottages that float, and make it a hotel. I want to have floating hotels. Tethered down with like a little rope. I don't know if we could do it, but I want to do it because of that. But and then the next time that I died, I was struck by lightning, and all my hearing and my eyesight went blank. I went again immediately to the white light, no tunnel. And I went into a room, and now I was with Father God, and he was everywhere and nowhere. And I was in the light, and I could see nothing, but I felt him. It was like I was inside the center of a white hot sun. And yet it wasn't hot, and it didn't burn my eyes. And it was perfect love. Perfect logic, perfect love, perfect peace. Again, I felt like I was floating and I was in my spirit body. And he just basically, I think I went through the whole thing again with the Pensy, but maybe it was a little bit different. He just told me, I had just told him the night before, I want you to take over my life. From this point forward, I'm yours. I am your servant. I will not serve myself. I will not serve people like to make their jobs, whatever, make their businesses grow or what. I mean, I will do that if you want me to, but I'm not going to just go running around trying to please other people anymore. I'm yours. That's it. I'm only going to do what you tell me to do. And so 24 hours later, I was struck by lightning, thrown 8 feet across my room. People ask me, what were you thinking in the moment you were struck by lightning? Because we want to know if you blasphemed God or something. I'm like, no, I was making hot dogs for my family, and I wondered if my husband wanted mustard on his hot dog. Because sometimes he did, sometimes he didn't. And I had a knife in my hand was wet, and the lightning struck a tree outside. It was a weird storm for days. And that storm created 1,000 fires in Northern California without any rain. It was lightning just striking all over the place. Literally just so bizarre. And it struck the tree, came in the tree branch, bent down just enough, struck the stovepipe to my electric stove, came through the stove, and zapped me in my right shoulder. So it basically the lightning went from my right shoulder. It went in two different directions. It went up through my brain, and then it went down through my heart, down through my right leg, and my legs were touching, and then went across to my left leg and out my second toe from the pinky, the baby toe, the second biggest toe, or second smallest toe. And a couple weeks later, my toenail fell off. There was a hole in my toenail, and that's where the lightning exited. Threw me 8 feet across but at first, I hit my breast on the cutting board, where I'd been cutting the onions for the hot dogs, obviously, right? And it felt like I was slapped by a giant hand. There's an image. I thought, was it just my Crocs? Like, these things are dangerous, I'm throwing them out, right? At first. And then it was like, wait a minute. But someone pushed me. There's a ghost in the house, or there's a spirit, or I just pissed off the fairies. You know, like, at first I was like super confused. Anyway, I hit my boob, and I had a massive purple scar on my breast for like 2.5 months. It was that bad. I mean, like the cutting board, I was thrown so hard that it bruised my rib underneath my breast, and I'm pretty ample breasted, so it was, I mean, I was slammed very hard against that, and then spun around in a circle, and then thrown onto the floor, and then I slid. So I ended up like eight feet away from the stove in the dining room. I was in the kitchen and landed in the dining room. And it was like the hearing went, the eyesight went. It was like kind of like it went out at the same time, and then that. And then I went to God, and he said, basically, he accepted my deal. He was accepting my bargain, that I'm his from now on. I'm taking on the mantle. And that's it. I'm his. And he said, okay. Basically. And he just told me some stuff. I don't remember it all, but he told me the instructions. Like, basically, you're going to have to do what I say. You're going to have to ask me. And he said, I don't want you to worry or panic about anything that's coming. I want you to know it's all good. It's all trust in the divine. Trust in the plan. Everything's going to be okay, and you are loved. Because, I mean, my whole life being rejected, it's like it makes you feel like you're not loved, right? It's ridiculous because you're made of pure love. And what wouldn't love but love, right? Love loves love. You know, it's kind of an insane prospect to think that you're not loved when you are love incarnate. You are love itself. I am, you are, we all are. We all are one, we all are love. And that's what I got from Divine Father, that we are 100% love. We are that. We are in connection, we are in union, but we don't know, believe, or accept we're in union, and that's where we have the separation. A lot of times we have separation anxiety because we think that we're not loved, we think we're forgotten. If you were forgotten, you'd be reabsorbed back into the head of God just like that. If God stops thinking about you for 1 second, you cease to be. When God, we kind of had our accord, we made our agreement, I told him that I love him and I appreciate him and I thank him for everything and that I absolutely love him and I'm 100% his servant now. You know, basically, we had this conversation. I don't remember what else he told me that day. And then I went back through the light, no tunnel again, back through the light, just pure white light, back in my body, still couldn't see, still couldn't hear. Suddenly my ears were ringing like with the worst freaking tinnitus I've ever had. Even with the ascension tinnitus, it was worse than that. It was like, ooh, you know, like ringing, but like a constant gong sound in both my ears. And my eyes, like, I thought, shit, I'm blind now. I just can't see anything, like, at all. And I was like looking around and I couldn't see anything. And all of a sudden everything was really cloudy, milky cloudy. And then it came back slowly. All of a sudden I could see, still couldn't hear. And then the tinnitus started to go down a little bit. And then the cloudiness in my ears went away. And when that went away, my oldest kid says, and she was like so precocious, and now he is a he, and he's so precocious still, but she says, Mom, what the hell are you doing sleeping on the floor when I'm sitting here waiting for my dinner? Where the hell is my hot dog? The only time I ever heard her say any swear word as a little child, you know, it was like adorable and hilarious all at once. Like, oh my God, like, I'm back. I'm alive. I'm a mom, and it's my job to get off the floor now. And I mean, it was just like, I wonder what went through their minds. Like, what are you, drunk? Why are you on the floor? They didn't notice that I got thrown across the room. Neither one of my kids, they were so engaged in the conversation they were having. And I don't know if it was a mystical experience where they just wouldn't witness, you know, or like they would just like immediate repression. Why, you know, like, what the hell? And my husband came back for his food and he's like, you look a little weird. Are you okay? I'm like, no. Oh no, I don't know. Something happened. I fell or something. He's like, are you having a stroke? I'm like, maybe. I don't know. Something weird just happened. I don't know. And I couldn't express it in words. And I just, the next day I looked it up on the internet. I looked up all the symptoms of what had happened. You know, ears ringing loudly, going deaf, going blind, being thrown 8 feet. You know, could that be a convulsion? Did I have something erupt in my brain? Like, I felt it all the way down my right arm, all the way down the right side of my body, through my heart, through my legs. And then it said, usually lightning will go out someone's baby toe. And I looked at my toe and I'm like, oh my God, I got a hole right where they said I would if that's what happened to me. I mean, it literally took me a couple days to figure out that I'd been struck by lightning. Then I met a woman. And again, when you have a near-death experience, you're going to be surrounded by people that can explain it to you when you don't understand it, or they will somehow, God puts in your way, in your path, people that confirm what just happened. So again, with this, I went to just the store just to pick up some food. I had to shop for my father-in-law as well as my family because my husband was taking care of the neighbor at that time who had just had a hip replacement surgery. So he had to stay with him for like a week. And since he was a nurse, you know, obvious choice of neighbors to ask, I suppose. So I was cool with that. I was like, all right, you know, it's fine. And, you know, while he's over there helping Nick, and we called him Nicky, but he was from Italy. So he said, you call me Nick or call me Nicky, you know. He was like from New York. I'm like, all right. So he was gone the whole time, you know, like for like a week. And so I was like shopping. went to the grocery store, and I was just like kind of looking strange, I guess, and I was shaking. It was thunder and lightning outside, and that freaked me out. Totally freaked me out. And I was just like PTSD, obviously, being around lightning and thinking, oh crap, I was just hit by lightning. And I met this lady, and she was friendly and sweet and talked to me. And this is in Paradise, the town that burned down. And she said, are you okay? And I'm like, I don't know. I feel weird. I think I was struck by lightning a couple days ago. And she's like, well, that happened to my brother. And she said, how did it happen? And I said, well, I don't know exactly, because I was in my house. She said, well, it could come through your electric stove. That's how my brother was struck by lightning. Came through the electric stove, and it threw him like really far. Like, yeah, it was like thrown 8 feet. She said, oh, yeah, there you go. And she had all the answers for me. And I said, wait a minute, why are you talking to me? This is Paradise. Nobody talks to you. Everybody avoids people like the plague. People are really freaky. They're really weird. They don't talk to you. And if you talk to them, they know you're a stranger from another town, and they get really weirded out. She said, oh, yeah, I'm from the Bay Area. She's like, yeah, that is weird. You're talking to me. And I'm like, oh, I'm not from here. I'm from LA. Because people in Paradise, if they didn't grow up with you, they won't talk to you. You're a stranger, and therefore to be viewed upon as an enemy, and they're paranoid. That's the town that burned down. The majority of the people were like that. Every now and again there were some really good people, but it was like, you meet, 10 or 20 good people and 1,000 really freaky ones. It was a very weird place, at least for me, is my experience anyway. And I worked in every pharmacy and every grocery store in that county. In several counties, in 3 counties. I was working my ass off there for a while. But, so that was just the way it was. So this woman, this really amazing, sweet, friendly woman that God put in my path to explain everything that has happened to me. And then I went outside to put the groceries in the car after that, thinking, well, thank God that cleared it up. That's what happened. That makes a lot of sense. And I was loading the groceries in the car, and my kids were with me. And I started to freak out, and I'd parked in front of a metal pole, and I noticed that the lightning started to strike in the parking lot, in front of my car, behind me, the metal pole. Like, it started striking all around me, and I realized my whole body was magnetized to that. And even like over the next week, as this was happening, every time I got near a window, the lightning would strike pretty damn close. And I was magnetized, and every time lightning would strike near me, where the path where the lightning had burned me through my body, it would start to glow like inside of me. Like, I couldn't see it glowing, but I felt it, and it was sharp shooting pain. And my husband didn't believe me. He thought I was trying to get attention, and he started doing this weird thing, and all of a sudden he was a narcissist. Like, all of that crap came out. It was weird. He was like compassionate with everything else that ever happened to me except for that. And he started treating me like, he started calling me crip or cripple when I was crawling up the stairs because I was in so much pain while that part of my body grew back. I mean, lightning is very skinny, but it does leave a burned path through your flesh. I mean, I'm lucky I'm able to walk and talk or anything. Since that happened, sometimes I lose words, but I've gotten most of it back. I still have problems like remembering some things, losing words. I still have face amnesia. I don't know. I can't remember if I had face amnesia before or not. I don't think I did. It affected me in a lot of intense ways, and since then I've gotten ADHD. I've learned I'm on the spectrum now. I don't know if I was before. I might have always been on the spectrum, though, mildly. But it affected my brain. It affected a lot of things. It was a really freaky thing. And my husband said, I don't believe you because you would have a hole in your toe, in your toenail, if that was true. And I showed him my toe, And I'm like, well, look at that. It's like a little brown mark and a little white mark and a hole in the center of my toenail. And he says, well, that proves nothing. And from that point forward, he was a complete jerk. And the day that I got struck by lightning, 1 year later to that day, was the day I filed for divorce, to divorce him. And I remember God's words to me: don't worry, don't panic about the things that are to come in the future. I'm with you and I'll take care of you. Don't worry. It was kind of like, you're with me now, and so don't worry. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to trust the universe. I'm going to trust you, God. I'm going to trust everything, because you know what? You meant for me to divorce this guy. And everything was just really bad after that. I mean, it was like for the next 2 to 3 years, it was just the divorce from hell. It took 18 months to get a 6-month divorce. 18 months, 17 days in court, 1 a month. They couldn't schedule it for the following week. They had to wait a month every freaking time. 17 times in 18 months. And then as soon as the divorce was finalized in April, he died the following November, which it's 5 days from now is the anniversary of his death. So I don't know, but God put all the people around me every time, the circumstances, the people, and every time you have a near-death experience, what happens is you get closer to that veil is thinner. You get closer to heaven. Now I could travel to and from heaven all the time. I could channel people all the time, whether they're living or dead or from another planet or a spirit like the spirit of the sun, like I did yesterday. And none of this was available to me until I went through all this crap. Like what Archangel Michael told me, you're going to go through your hell before you get to your heaven. And I feel like I'm almost at that heaven point now. But we are all in heaven, technically. Heaven on earth is the 5th dimension. So I'm in the process of aligning my life in a way in which everything is good, but God is telling me what to do, basically. But not as an automatron thing. We are now co-creating together. And I've been doing that with him for a long time. And now in the ascension perspective, you guys could read about this, how you are, and I did a show on this, how you are supposed to be connected with your spiritual team at all times. I did a spiritual team episode as well. And that's helping me coalesce all these abilities. I'm getting more abilities as I'm raising my vibration up. But I had a lot of crap to go through, man. But the last couple times, it was just, I didn't have a lot more to atone for. I did that already the first couple times. And I think that when you try to commit suicide, that you do not get the ability to atone for anything. You just have to sit. It's like you're being punished. God puts you in a corner, but it looks like a sewer. At least that's what happened to me. And I'm glad that I was forgiven for that, and I forgave myself for that, and I'm okay, and I'm over it. And I'm not sick like that anymore. After Divine Mother said I don't need asthma anymore, I still had asthma, but I used to be on 10 medicines, now I'm on 2. And I don't need to take them hardly at all, not like I used to. And you guys have heard me once in a while I have to go on prednisone, and that's just hormonally related, but like I haven't taken my inhaler, I don't think. Yesterday, I think I took it once or twice. And that, I mean, it's a far cry from taking it 12 times a day. I was on like 4 or 5 inhalers. I was on 4 or 5 medicines. Like, I was on 12 medicines, so it was like 7 pills or something. It was like ridiculous how much I was on. And now, no, I have a water pill I take once every week or 2. I used to take that 3 times a day. Now I take 2 inhalers. And one's just preventative and one's just in case, you know. And usually if I take a water pill, I don't need to take either inhaler. Usually it's just a water issue now. So most of the asthma I have now, it's either an allergy or a water weight issue. It's not, technically, it's usually not asthma. So Divine Mother kept her promise. And so anyway, that's just my experience, like what happens when you die, like what happens when I die, my near-death experiences. But, you know, it's every time it happens, it's different. And on another day, I'm going to tell you guys, because it's getting extremely long, on another day, I'm going to tell you guys about what happens when you die and you're not done living. What happens then? Because you know what? You get to come right back. You hop a timeline and you keep going as if you didn't die without a memory. But I'm still reading a book on that, so it's going to take a while. Because I've got to read the book and talk to God and kind of get through it and figure it out. And then I'm going to let you guys know about that. Totally different situation. And God just told me tonight, right in front of you, in front of like live time, that this happened to me 8 times already. I've died in this life. That gets into parallel universes, parallel timelines, and the multi-dimensional nature of the universe, along with a hefty dose of quantum mechanics. And it's getting late. So, I love you guys. I love each and every one of you. Thank you for listening to the show. Thank you for having faith and confidence in me, and for sending me the sweetest emails. Ariel, thank you. I got your email today. I will write you soon. I've been very busy. You know, I have a few backed up readings. I have like 4 or 5 people, I think, now that I've got to get to. I'm hoping in the next 2 to 3 days I'll be able to get to that. My son and I have been going through some stuff, just good stuff, but it's just a little complicated. We're just in the we were asked, you know, someone wants to buy our house, and we're like, it's kind of thrown us into a tailspin, because that's our final foothold in the United States. And if we sell that, we just don't really have a reason, except for my older son and my brothers. There's not really a reason for me to go back. I've got friends, all my friends, obviously, you know, but as far as like, I don't have a job there. I don't have a way to even get medicine or health insurance there, especially if I don't have a house and an address. And, I was talking to my near twin about how hard it is to travel there now. Like, even between states, there's like all this red tape, and it's like, I don't even know if I could come back at all. Will I even be allowed in my own country as a tourist without a driver's license that has some kind of, I don't even know what the hell's going on with you guys over there. I'm so sorry for the people in the U.S. I don't know what the hell is with the bureaucracy. I heard about this driver's license thing with like a chip in it, or I don't even know. I hope they're not chipping under your skin yet. I hope that never comes down to it, but I don't even know. Is it retina scans? I don't even know what's happening. Like, you can't travel between states or something? I don't know. It's all so confusing. So if I sell my house, that'll be just the end. Like, unless I'm living in a mansion in Beverly Hills because suddenly I'm super wealthy, I don't see myself going back to the States. I can't afford it. I'm not like really stuck in Ecuador. I could go to Lima and get my ex-narcissist boyfriend to take care of me because he promised me, and it's his culture, so he knows he has to. I won't do that to him, haha. But you know, and I could probably go work in a hotel. Like, you know, I know a lot of people in my old hostel, but like, I think I'll be okay down here. I'd rather be okay down here than in the States, not being able to even afford organic fruit, where all the food here is organic. So it's like, yeah, it's a little bit easier, a little bit better. But anyway, so we've been going through that. So anyone who I still have to do your reading, I know I still have to do your reading. I mean, a lot of people's money I still have that they gave me, so I know I have to do it. But anyway, but thank you for your confidence and for loving me, and I love you guys back so much, and I'm here for you every day. You know, God willing and the creeks don't rise, as they say. Anyway, I know it's like super late. Sorry about that. I'm like 3 hours late getting this out. And here I started this and I had 89% charge on my phone and now it's 83%. So now it's like acting normal again. I don't know if it's a Schumann Resonance. I don't know if it's a magnetosphere. Is it just my energy? Am I like a vampire sucking the energy out of my phone sometimes and other times putting energy in? Is it my wonky? Is it my energy that's wonky? Is it the jewelry I'm wearing? I don't know. But Mercury retrograde, I don't know. Something is freaking happening to the phones. But anyway. But thank you guys. Send me your Santa Claus stories, your Christmas, Kwanzaa, holiday miracle stories from, Hanukkah, from anything around this time of year. Thanksgiving miracle stories, even if you have it. Because in December, I want to do a very special episode on that. So if you have anything, please write to me at metaphysicalsoulspeak@gmail.com. All right, that's it. That's all I got to say about that. I'll be back tomorrow with all unique and original programming, like always. Signing off with peace and joy and the high vibes of the holy fifth dimension. Till next time, guys. Peace. Do you ever wish you could look into the next chapter in your book of life and see what's coming next? What does the universe have in store for you? I can help you with that. I will give you a Celtic cross reading, which is 10 cards, or you can ask me 3 questions, and I use 3 cards per question. So that's 9 cards, or I can channel your higher guidance, or maybe God directly for you. Maybe you want to talk to your dear departed Aunt Edna, because maybe you have a few questions and she was the smartest person you knew. If your deceased relatives are available or your ascended masters, I can channel them for you personally. Let me have 1 hour to show you the future in your next chapter of your book of life. Readings are $75, and it takes me an hour to an hour and a half to complete. And for this price, you will also be hooked up to the healing grid around the planet for free, which means yours truly, me, I will be giving you Reiki 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the rest of your life. All you have to do is let me know. metaphysicalsoulspeak@gmail.com, and we will explore your future together.